The month you retire can change your financial outcome far more than most people realize. And I'm not talking about a small difference. I'm not talking about shaving a few $100s off a tax bill. I'm talking about a decision that can cost you or save you tens of thousands of dollars. Not over the next 20 or 30 years, not as some abstract retirement planning theory. In the very first year you stop working. Because the moment you retire doesn't just decide when your paycheck ends. It can change how much of your income gets taxed, how much flexibility you have in that first retirement year, and whether certain hidden costs show up later when you least expect them. That is the part most people never see coming. They spend years thinking about how much they need to retire. They think about their portfolio. They think about the market. They think about Social Security. They think about whether they should retire at 62, 65, or 67. But almost nobody stops to ask a much better question. What month should I retire? And that question can matter a lot more than people think. Because retirement is not just about leaving work. It is about what your income looks like in the year you leave. And if you get that timing wrong, you can accidentally create one of the most expensive financial years of your entire retirement. All because of the calendar. In this video, I want to show you exactly why the month you retire matters more than most people think. Not just emotionally, not just from a lifestyle perspective, financially, structurally, and in ways that can follow you long after your last day of work. I'm going to walk you through how the timing of your retirement affects taxes, why Medicare can end up charging you based on income you are no longer earning, and how Social Security can become more expensive simply because too much income landed in the same year. I also want to show you why so many people make this decision using the wrong logic. They choose a retirement month based on convenience, based on a birthday, based on the end of a project, the holidays, a clean handoff for the team, maybe just sometime next spring. But the system is not thinking the way you are thinking. You are thinking in seasons. The IRS is thinking in dollars. And that mismatch is where the problem starts. Here's the framework I want you to keep in mind through this entire conversation. Every year on December 31st, the government takes a picture of your financial life. Everything that happened between January 1st and December 31st ends up in that frame. Your wages, your bonus, your PTO payout, your pension start, your IRA withdrawals, your Social Security, your investment income. The month you retire decides how crowded that photograph becomes. Retire late in the year and the picture is full. Retire early and the picture is cleaner, lighter, and far more flexible. And that matters because the photograph doesn't lie. Most people think the biggest risk around retirement timing is the market. What if stocks drop right after I leave work? What if I retire at the wrong moment? What if there is a correction? That risk is real, but it is not the first problem. The first problem is the income stack. And unlike the market, the income stack is something you can often control. You cannot predict what the market will do next month. You can control whether your salary is still sitting inside that December 31st photograph. A normal working year is usually simple. Mostly salary, maybe some interest, maybe a little dividend income, and that's it. A normal retirement year can actually be very strategic. You control withdrawals, you decide when to start Social Security, you can manage your tax bracket more carefully. But the year you retire is different. That's the collision year. Your salary overlaps with pension income, withdrawals, maybe Social Security, maybe a bonus, maybe a final PTO lump sum, maybe stock compensation. Income that normally wouldn't sit together ends up piled onto one return. And that's how one of the highest tax years of retirement gets created by accident. Take a married couple with a manageable retirement income. In a normal retirement year, they might sit in a relatively modest tax bracket and owe a reasonable amount in federal tax. Now, change one thing. Instead of retiring early in the year, one spouse retires in October. Suddenly, months of salary are stacked on top of pension income and withdrawals. Taxable income jumps, the bracket rises, the tax bill moves much faster than most people expect, and nothing went wrong in the market, nothing failed in the plan. All they changed was the month.
Then there's the Social Security trap. A lot of people assume Social Security is either taxed or not taxed, but it's not that simple. It depends on a formula called provisional income, and that formula becomes much harsher when too much income lands in the same year. So when salary stays in the retirement year photograph, more of your Social Security can become taxable. Not because the benefit changed, not because Congress changed the rules, just because the calendar created a more crowded year. That's when people realize this isn't one consequence, it's a chain of consequences. And then there's the part almost nobody sees coming. Medicare premiums are not always based on what you're earning now. They can be based on what you earned 2 years earlier. That means your retirement year income can come back and affect you later after your paycheck is already gone. So the crowded photograph doesn't just hurt you in the year you retire, it can keep reaching forward. The photograph keeps billing you long after the camera was put away. Let me give you someone real enough to feel familiar. I'll call him Dave. Dave retired late in the year because he wanted to finish a project and leave on good terms. It sounded reasonable, it sounded responsible. He didn't think the specific month would matter much. But his retirement year filled up fast. Wages, pension income, withdrawals, a final bonus. His taxes came in higher than expected. Then 2 years later, his Medicare premiums came in higher too. After that, he learned he had lost valuable Roth conversion space. Dave's mistake was not investing badly. Dave's mistake was timing. Now, there's an important piece of relief here. If retirement caused your income to drop, there's an appeal process. Retirement counts as a life-changing event, and the form used to request a new Medicare premium calculation is SSA 44. A lot of people don't know this exists. It does, and it can work. But it's still better to avoid the problem than spend the next year cleaning it up.
Up to this point, we have been talking about what a bad retirement month can cost you. Now let's talk about what it can take away from you. The early years of retirement are often the lowest income years you will ever have as an adult. That makes them some of the best years for Roth conversions. You may have stopped earning salary but not yet started full Social Security, not yet hit required minimum distributions, and not yet filled your return with other income. That clean window is incredibly valuable, and a late retirement month can destroy the first and best year of it. Imagine two people converting the exact same amount from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. One retires in January, the other retires in November. The January retiree may still have room in a lower bracket, so the conversion gets taxed at a far lower rate. The November retiree is already carrying months of salary in the same year, so that same conversion becomes much more expensive. Same money, same strategy, same conversion. Completely different tax cost because of timing. Now let's put this into one cleaner side-by-side example. I'll call her Maria. Maria is planning to retire, and emotionally, October makes sense. She wants to wrap up a big project, help with the transition, and leave before the holidays. That sounds like a thoughtful decision. But when you compare October Maria to January Maria, the numbers tell a different story. October leaves more salary in the year, pushes taxable income higher, raises her tax bill, reduces her room for Roth conversions, and leaves less margin before other thresholds become a problem. January gives her a cleaner year, lower taxable income, more flexibility, more room to plan. Same life, same retirement, different month. And over time, that difference can become very real money. This is how I organize the damage. Level 1 is the bracket collision. Your salary and retirement income land in the same year, and your taxes rise faster than expected. Level 2 is the IRMAA delay. That crowded year comes back later through higher Medicare premiums. Level 3 is the Roth conversion window collapse. The cleanest low-income planning year gets wasted before you ever get to use it. Some people get hit by 1, some get hit by 2, some get hit by all 3. And then there is the kind of rule almost nobody thinks to check. Some pension plans credit service by calendar year. In certain cases, working even a small amount of time in a new year can give you credit for the full year.
That means retiring in late December could cost you an extra year of pension credit, while retiring in January could increase your annual benefit for life. That is not true in every plan, but it is true often enough that it matters. And the dangerous part is that these rules are usually buried in documents nobody reads until it is too late. There is also a human side to this that matters more than people admit. Retiring late in the year means you are leaving during the busiest, most cluttered stretch of the calendar. Holidays, deadlines, handoffs, year-end pressure, unfinished work. Even emotionally, it can feel rushed and messy. An early year retirement often feels cleaner. The year resets. The exit feels more deliberate. It feels less like you were squeezed out in the middle of chaos and more like you actually chose your next chapter. That difference is not just emotional. It affects how the whole transition feels. And this is where Dave's story really lands. Dave eventually figured all of this out, but only after the decisions were already behind him. He was okay financially. He did not ruin his retirement, but he learned that a different month could have saved him a meaningful amount of money and opened up better options. That knowledge stays with people, because when you realize the loss was avoidable, it hits differently. And in Dave's case, it all came down to one question: what month did I retire? So here's what you do with this. First, run the numbers for 2 retirement dates, the one you're planning now and an early year version like January or February. Look at salary, pension, withdrawals, Social Security, bonus, PTO payout, and investment income. Second, check how close your income is to key Medicare thresholds. Look at your recent tax returns, understand your modified adjusted gross income, and know whether a crowded year could create a future premium problem. Third, map your Roth conversion window. Figure out when pension income is fully running, when Social Security starts, and when required minimum distributions arrive. Then protect year 1 if you can, because once that first clean year is gone, you do not get it back. At the end of all this, the lesson is simple. The system does not care what month felt emotionally convenient. It does not care about project deadlines, team transitions, or what HR thought would be tidy. It reads the income that showed up in the year you retired, and everything else flows from that. That's why the month matters. Control the photograph. Everything else gets easier after that. Go be boring.